All right, following Monday's sports wagering action, we're 8-3 in our last 11 board member tier package bets on Pt.2. And the link for today's board member tier package bet is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are up over $4,200 during that span. Now, the board member tier is an all-inclusive package that I offer on that website. And not only do you get access to my board member tier package bet itself, you also get access to every single bet that I give out on that webpage all the way through the end of March. Now, if you're not signed up for that package, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain a little bit more about it in just a second. But before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal bets on Brockpage.com. I have packages on that website starting at just $1.99. Now, the purpose of these YouTube videos is to provide you with free informational sports betting content, and it's also designed to generate interest in signing up for a membership on my website. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my webpage. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total, or most of the games at least. And what I do on my website is, well, I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our part 2 video. We're going to start off with some Big Ten action. I'm talking about Rutgers squaring off against Indiana, and that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time on Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. Indiana's -6 with a total at 130. Now, the Hoosiers are on a 2-game winning streak, and they've played incredibly tough defense at Assembly Hall. Not only are these guys 14-3 straight up at home this year, they're also in the top 15 in the nation in home defensive field goal percentage. Matter of fact, the Hoosiers are allowing only 60 points a game in front of their home crowd. And they're also limiting their competition to just 37% shooting from the field on their home court. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Trayce Jackson-Davis is averaging over 17 points a game, along with 8 boards and 2.5 blocks. Meanwhile, Race Thompson, he's scoring nearly a dozen points a game himself, along with 7 rebounds as well. Now, the Indiana Hoosiers, they are currently covering the point spread in 71% of their home games. They're taking on a Rutgers team who lost their last 3 straight themselves. And they're also winning only 25% of their road games. These guys have not been good when traveling this year. And, well, the Scarlet Knights really just haven't been good enough offensively on the road this season. They're scoring just 66 points a game away from home. And in addition to that, they're having a tough time grabbing offensive boards in that very same category. Now, total-wise, Rutgers is 8-4 to the over when traveling this season. They also saw overs recently against the likes of Purdue, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. Meanwhile, Indiana, on the other side of things, they saw their last 5 straight get over the line themselves, 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Indiana -6 and the over 130. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be UConn versus Creighton, 8:30 p.m. East. UConn's -4 with the total at 135.5. But despite the fact that UConn's favored by a couple of buckets on the road here, the Huskies have actually had a tough time covering the number this year when traveling. Now, UConn's just 3-6 against the spread in their last 9 road games. And in addition to that, they've actually had some significant difficulties defending the 3-ball in certain spots this year as well. Now, they're taking on a Creighton team on the other side of things who actually won 6 out of their last 7 themselves. They're also winning 77% of their home games this year. Ryan Hawkins is averaging over 14 points a game offensively, along with 7 total rebounds. Hawkins also has done a pretty nice job shooting from three-land as well. So be on the lookout for him. He could potentially get hot, shooting that long ball. Meanwhile, teammate 7'1" Ryan Kalkbrenner, he's scoring over a dozen points a game himself, along with 7 boards and a couple of blocks. Now, Creighton's amongst the better offensive rebounding teams in the Big East. Meanwhile, defensively on the other end of the court, they're limiting their competition to just 39% shooting from the field. Now, total-wise, Creighton's 4-2 to the over in their last 6 outings. Meanwhile, UConn's gone 6-3 to the over in their last 9 when traveling. I'm going to lean toward Creighton +4 in the over 135.5. Next matchup, little SEC action. I'm talking about Auburn versus Mississippi State. 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Auburn's -4.5 with the total at 143. Now, the Tigers won 7 out of their last 10 ball games. And they also have a .714 win percentage in their contests away from home. Jabari Smith is scoring over 16.5 points per contest, along with 6 rebounds and 42% shooting from three-land. Meanwhile, KD Johnson is scoring 12.5 points a game himself, along with a couple of rebounds. Now, the Tigers are in the top 25 in the nation in offensive points per contest. They're also in the top 10 in the country in offensive rebounding per game. They're taking on a Mississippi State team on the other side of things who actually failed to cover in their last 3 straight. And they've also allowed 80 points per contest in their last 10 meetings with the Tigers, really struggling defensively, in this series. But, the Bulldogs, really, they've been little threat shooting the long ball this season as well on the offensive end of the court. These guys are making just 30% of their three-pointers for the entire year. Now, total-wise, Mississippi State saw overs recently with Vanderbilt and Alabama. They were also 8-2 to the over in their last 10 contests with Auburn. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Tigers, on the other side of things, they saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Auburn -4.5 in the over 143. Next contest, it is going to be LSU versus Arkansas, 9 p.m. Eastern start time. Arkansas is -3.5 with the total at 139. Now, the Razorbacks are the hottest covering team in the nation right now. They successfully covered the point spread in their last 10 straight. And they're also 16-1 straight up in front of their home fans. J.D. Notae, he's averaging nearly 20 points per contest, along with 4 rebounds and a couple of steals. Meanwhile, Stanley Umade is averaging nearly a dozen points a game himself, along with 4 boards. Now, the Razorbacks have been scoring a whole bunch of points this season. They're actually averaging over 79 points a game at home. They also find themselves in the top 30 in the country in offensive rebounding. They're taking on an LSU squad who failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10 themselves. And they actually have just 2 road victories for the entire year. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two schools, well, LSU allowed Arkansas to score 79 points a game against them in their last 10 contests against each other. Now, LSU's biggest problem this season is their offensive performance on the road. These guys are scoring only 66 points a game away from their home court, and they're shooting only 28% from three-land in that same category. Now, total-wise, LSU went 70% to the over in their last 10 outings. They're also 6-4 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Arkansas. So once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. Meanwhile, the Razorbacks on the other side of things, they saw their last 2 straight get over the line themselves. They also saw overs recently against the likes of Auburn, Georgia, and West Virginia. I'm going to lean toward Arkansas -3.5 and the over 139. Next contest, a little Big East action. I'm talking about Marquette versus DePaul, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Marquette's -3 with the total at 148. Now, the Golden Eagles of Marquette, they've certainly had DePaul's number in recent meetings. Marquette's gone 7-3 straight up in their last 10 contests against the Blue Demons. They also held DePaul to just 68 points a game during that span. Now, when it comes to covering the point spread, the Golden Eagles have covered the number in 70% of their road games this season. Justin Lewis, he averages over 16 points a game along with 7 boards. Meanwhile, Cam Jones and Greg Elliott, they're both shooting well over 40% from beyond the arc. And speaking of shooting the 3-ball, Marquette's currently in the top 40 in the nation in road offensive 3-point percentage. These guys are very dangerous shooting from downtown. Now, they're taking on a DePaul team who lost 4 out of their last 6 themselves. They're allowing nearly 73 points a game at home. Meanwhile, offensively, on the other end of the court here, the Blue Demons have been little threat shooting from beyond the arc. These guys are making just 31% of their 3-pointers for the entire year. Now, total-wise, DePaul is 12-5 to the over at the Wintrust Arena. They're also giving up over 74 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Marquette. Meanwhile, the Golden Eagles, on the other side, they are 60% to the over when traveling this year themselves. I'm going to lean toward Marquette -3 in the over 148. Next matchup, it is going to be Miami versus Boston College, 9 p.m. Eastern start time. Miami's -4.5 with the total at 143. Now, the Hurricanes have been really good on the road this season. They arguably play their best basketball away from the Watsco Center. The Canes are currently 8-2 straight up as the official road team. They successfully covered the number in 80% of those contests. Cameron McGusty, he's averaging over 17.5 points a game, along with 5 rebounds and 2.5 assists. Meanwhile, Sam Wardenberg, he's drilling nearly 44% of his 3-pointers. Not a huge scorer, but I'll tell you what, definitely a great role player and a guy who can be very dangerous if he gets hot shooting that 3-ball. And speaking of shooting the basketball, the Canes are currently in the top 15 in the nation in road offensive field goal percentage. They're taking on a Boston College team who lost 7 out of their last 10 themselves. And they may have to go to work here today without forward T.J. Bickerstaff. TJ is currently battling a lower leg injury. Now, BC is simply not doing enough with the ball in their hands. Don't really know how else to say it. Just not doing good enough scoring-wise. These guys are averaging only 65 points a game, and they're shooting just 29% from 3-land. Now, total-wise, BC's 11-5 to the under in the Conti Forum. The Eagles also went 80% to the under in their last 10 outings at any location. Meanwhile, Miami's gone 70% to the under as the official road team. I'm going to lean toward Miami -4.5 and the under 143. Next contest, it is going to be Wichita State versus Tulsa, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Wichita State's -4 on the road, totals 135.5. But despite being favored by a couple of baskets on the road here, the Shockers do find themselves in the middle of a 3-game losing streak, and they also lost 5 out of their last 8 on the road. And speaking of those road games, the Shockers simply haven't been good enough offensively when traveling. They're scoring only 65 points a game on the road this year, and they're actually amongst the worst in the AAC in road offensive rebounding. Now, they're taking on a Tulsa team who covered the point spread recently against the likes of USF and Cincinnati. As a matter of fact, that cover against Cincinnati, that was actually an outright victory where they scored 83 total points. That was a very impressive victory there. Now, Jariah Horn, he's averaging over 16 points a game along with 6 rebounds and 41% shooting from 3-land. Meanwhile, Darian Jackson, he's drilling 40% of his shots from beyond the arc himself, and he's also averaging nearly double-digit points a game. Now, when it comes to covering the point spread, the Golden Hurricane has a winning record against the number at home this year. When it comes to the total in this one, Tulsa saw their last 3 straight fall under the line. They're also 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Meanwhile, Wichita State, they saw unders recently against the likes of Memphis, SMU, and this very Tulsa team. Matter of fact, the Shockers went 60% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Tulsa. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Tulsa Golden Hurricane +4 and the under 135. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Wyoming versus UNLV. That's going to be a 10:30 Eastern start time. UNLV's -2 with the total at 141.5. Now, the Rebels have played terrific defense at the Thomas and Mack Center this year. They're allowing only 62 points a game in Sin City, and they're limiting their competition to just 38% shooting from the field there. Now, scoring-wise, when it comes to offensive production, Bryce Hamilton's dropping over 21.5 points per contest, 4 rebounds, couple assists for the guard. Meanwhile, Donovan Williams, he's been really good shooting the long ball. He's drilling nearly 44% of his three-pointers this year. He's also scoring 13 points a game. Now, the Rebels are currently 13-6 in front of their home crowd this year. They're taking on a Wyoming school who lost 3 out of their last 5. And they really haven't matched up well with UNLV in recent meetings. The Cowboys lost 7 out of their last 10 against the Rebels. They averaged only 66 points a game during that span. And speaking of offensive woes, well, Wyoming's averaging only 68 points a game away from their home court this year. Now, total-wise, the Cowboys are 9-3 to the under as the official road team. They also went 5-3 to the under in their last 8 contests at any location. Meanwhile, UNLV saw 5 out of their last 8 fall under the posted total themselves. They're also 12-6 to the under in their last 18 at home. I'm going to lean toward UNLV -2 and the under 141.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Pt.2. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on Pt.2, you're actually going to get access to that to those bets all the way through the end of March. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single package that I offer on that website, there's a way you can do that. And that's by joining the board member tier. Now, not only do board members get access to my board member tier bet itself, you also get access to every single bet that I give out on that website. It's an all-inclusive membership. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Tuesday or Wednesday to you, depending on when you're watching this. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at Brockpage.com.